Welcome back to another episode of the podcast, From the Depths of Darkness to the Light of Success. I am your host, Chris Swick, and on this podcast, we talk about mental health, addictions, eating disorders, ADHD, which I suffer from as well. But really, all in all, I believe everyone's story is valuable at the end of the day. It does not matter what walk of life you come from. You're all welcome on my platform. Because at the end of the day, I believe everyone has a story and we should share it to help others. If you want to head over to my YouTube channel, From the Depths of Darkness to the Light of Success, hit that subscribe button, turn on the notifications. All video formalities of the show is up there. And head over to Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, hit that follow or subscribe button. And you can check me out on Instagram as well, at Depths of Darkside, to follow along with the podcast and my personal journey in life with my family and stuff like that. And with no further ado, I'd love to introduce you to my next guest. I got Cody Byrns from the United States. You want to take it away and let them know a little bit about you, Cody, and what you're all about?
Sure. Well, Chris, first of all, man, thank you for having me on your show. It's a pleasure to be here. And I have an interesting name, and all the viewers and listeners, they're going to kind of come to grips with that here in a second, because Cody Byrns, I am actually a burn survivor. And so it's very ironic that my last name is pronounced Burns. And I always joke around and I tell, I like to crack jokes. Life is just too crazy. And you almost have to. And so I always tell people it's so ironic. Last name is Burns. I see God has a sense of humor. And I always tell people, if you don't believe me, go to Walmart or go to the grocery store. People's entertaining to watch. And I crack jokes about my predicament, and I'll be sharing my story here soon, how I got my burn injuries. And I joke about being a burn survivor. And I don't mind if people laugh at my condition, just as long as they don't make jokes. I hate to get roasted, but that's besides the. So I'm happy to be here, man. This is good. I'm out of Tampa, Florida, and I speak all over the world. A lot of it's now virtual because of just the times, but things are starting to open back up. I speak to a lot of corporate groups, college students. I do a lot of faith-based work as well. Keep Busy wrote a book back in 2018, released it. And man, just on a mission to give hope and inspiration to everyone that I meet. And it's a true honor and joy to be here with you today.
Thank you very much, man. Let's break right in. What happened to you with this accident and you're when becoming a burn survivor? But take us through that story or break it down a little bit in a short formality.
Yeah. Back in I'm a young guy, but back when my younger years, I just really gained this passion to give hope to people. And I knew that I was going to be doing that at a very young age, because I went to a children's camp as a little boy and I seen this speaker up on the platform, and he was sharing this message of motivation, inspiration, but he was also doing it by utilizing juggling and this unique talent that I was like, "Oh, I like that." And so I just started honing in on my own juggling skills, and I became the world's greatest juggler. I am the world's greatest juggler in your price range. In your price range. I always like to clarify that. Yeah, I got so good, and this is true. There's videos out there on YouTube of me doing this. I was juggling 7 balls at once. And it takes a lot of balls to do that, but that's another story. But I really, man, I was so passionate about the skill. I loved it. But more so than that, I was passionate about bringing that message of hope to people. And so all through my young years, I pursued that. And then after high school, I went to a school in Rockford, Illinois, got my pastoral credentials, and I started working with children on a weekly basis. At the same time, I traveled the country and started doing other parts of the world too, going to camps, conferences, just delivering that message of hope and inspiration, using comedy and juggling along with it, just living life and fulfilling that dream. And then back in 2013, I was driving. It was a Friday afternoon, driving on the highway back to my office. I was stopped at a red light on the highway, and I was rear-ended by a refrigerator box truck that did not stop. And so when the box truck hit I was in a Dodge Durango, my Dodge blew up into flames. And when the truck hit my Dodge, it pushed my vehicle through the intersection into an embankment. And so it was crazy. There was actually a van in front of me. And so the lady's van went to one side of the intersection. Mine was stuck in this embankment. And when the first responders came to the scene, they said, it's a fatality. There's no way anybody could survive this. So they called the coroner. But somehow or another, And I don't remember this, by the way. And so it always strikes people as that's unusual or it's different because I just remember driving. I remember everything I did that morning, and then bam, everything goes black. But somehow my hand moved and they saw it up move on the steering wheel. And for those that are interested, if they Google my name, they can find actual pictures of the accident that the sheriff's department took. And you can get more of a perspective of sharing with you. So you would understand why they would say it's a fatality. So crazy stuff, but they saw my hand move and then they changed their plans. And to their amazement, they said I was talking to them. I told them who I was, where I worked, everything. I don't remember none of it, Chris. It's crazy. I just remember waking up in the hospital because once they got me out, they put me on a stretcher. They life flighted me to the burn unit in Indianapolis, Indiana. And I'm originally from Indiana. So I was there. They put me into a coma on full life support for 3 weeks. I had severe burn injuries, second degree burns on my face. Second degree burns, they don't scar. But then I had third degree and fourth degree burns. I never knew there was such a thing as a fourth degree burn. But what that is, it burns through all of your fat cells down to bone and muscle. In some cases, it requires amputation. And so, on top of the burn injuries, I had broken vertebrae, torn ligaments, I had a blood infection in the unit, pneumonia, you name it. All kinds of crap went down. And so my family certainly has their side of the story. And a lot of the information I share with people, as far as the details of the accident and my injury, it's all given to me by first responders, my family, the doctors, everyone that worked on me. And it was a long road to recovery. 3 weeks later, I'm coming to, and I remember hearing people's voices and particularly my family. And I always share the story about my mom. She shared with me what had happened. She said, Cody, you're in this burn unit. You've been severely burned. And she said, your recovery is not going to be an easy journey. But no matter what, Cody, don't lose sight of your vision. And man, I was taken back by that. I was like, how often in life do people get knocked down? They find themselves knocked down. They find themselves at a red light, if you will, when their entire world as they know it comes to a stop. And sometimes they're trapped in difficult circumstances. And just like I was trapped, but that little bit of movement of my hand on the steering wheel, it changed everything for me. And so I always encourage people is that what can a little bit of movement do for you in your situation, in your life? And a little bit goes a long way. But at the same time, we need people in our life to remind us, don't lose sight of your vision, of what is most important. And my family certainly was that for me. And today, as a speaker traveling the world, that's really what I'm out here to do, is simply to remind people that no matter what life brings you, you can get back up and live a better tomorrow. But it was a long recovery. I was in the burn unit for 2.5 months, had to go to a rehab center. I had to relearn to walk, use my hands. It was a good, I would say, 3 to 4 years of just nonstop physical and occupational therapy, many surgeries, a long road to recovery. But today I am here and I am grateful.
You know what? I'm truly grateful to have you here on the show. I'm grateful a few months back you reached out to me and I remember asking, I was just going through the messages this morning and I was like, hey, what do you like? I like to ask that qualifying question. Why did you reach out to me? Well, not everyone reaches out to me, like, but you were inspired. You liked my podcast. You liked that I had a podcast. So I was like, you know what? And I started reading through and you told me what you did and what you were about. And I was like, yes, I need this guy on my show. He has a fucking story and we're gonna share it on my show someday. I just envision those things sometimes too and how it's gonna go, and I like organic conversation like we're having today, and I'm super grateful again, like I just told you, to have you on this platform, on my show, to share your story, man. That's an amazing story to see. It's almost like a redemption story. There's so many different ways of having a redemption story, and Cody Byrns has a redemption story today from basically they calling you off and saying you're dead until you move. If you didn't move that hand, who knows where you would have been at that point? Maybe they would have tucked you away in the morgue or something like that, and you're moving your hand in there. Who knows? It's been known to happen.
Heck yeah. I would have right there. I would have been cremated. By the way, as a burn survivor, I found this. So I'm 40% severely. And so I found out that I have a 40% discount at the crematorium. So when the time comes, I'm already ahead of the game. So
I love it, man. We gotta have some jokes on the show.
it's morbid, folks.
It is morbid. That's okay. So I want to ask you this question though. Name one thing you did where the risk was well worth the reward.
I think it was just getting back up. The big thing is now my body is deformed in ways. And I have permanent scars on a lot of my scars can be hidden depending on the clothes that I'm wearing, but my arms, my hands are all scarred. I've got some intense scars on my entire left leg is scarred down to fourth degree. And my right foot is all scarred. I've got scars on my lower back. And so it was that mindset that I had to overcome is this is now part of who I am, but yet how are people going to look at me? How are others going to take me as a person now that I have been damaged in such a way? And it was a lot, but it was also so rewarding when I took that first step and I said, I cannot change the fact that I am now scarred. I can't change this story. And in a small town in Indiana where I'm from, the media picked this up quick. News about this spread like wildfire. And then prior to the wreck, me doing what I was doing as a speaker, I already had thousands of people that was instantly following the story. And people knew. So there's no going back. This is now a part of me. And so it was learning to move on despite these new injuries and know that I can't change the past. I can only change what I may do today. And that was empowering for me. But at the same time, taking that jump and not really knowing what the future will look like, but knowing that I still wanted to give that message of hope, no matter what it looks like, because it won't look the same that it used to. It will in some degree, but it's different. And so I remember whenever I was in rehab, particularly, I got this garbage bag full of get well cards from a bunch of kids in Oklahoma City at a kids camp, hundreds of these cards. I'm reading these and all these kids are like, we're praying for you. We're wishing you well, sending you good thoughts. And I'm just thinking, all these eyes are watching me. And when life is going great, everyone can talk a good talk. But then when tragedy strikes and rubber hits the road and all hell breaks loose, it's like our faith, our message, everything that we were about is put to the test. And for me, it certainly was. And I was like, all right, what is the message I'm going to preach in this moment? And it was just like, I'm going to get back up. I'm going to move forward and pursue it. And so for me, it was just getting up out of that bed and pressing on no matter what the outcome may look like, although I believe it to be good, and it is good. But at the time, I didn't know it. I was like, all right, take one day at a time and hope for the best.
I use that one day at a time mentality in so many aspects of my life, especially in recovery myself. I can't forget where I came from, but I don't always want to, keep talking about the drugs and the alcohol and stuff like that because it brings up old wounds. Not that I haven't, I'm still healing from things too, but if you keep talking about those things, you can't move forward in healing from them too. But living that life and that mentality of one day at a time is key in any area, I believe, for everyone in life, not just someone in recovery, but someone like yourself. You just have to go one day at a time, and that's all you can do.
Yeah.
We can't worry about what happened yesterday because yesterday's gone. Tomorrow hasn't come yet. We got to live in the present moment.
Absolutely. And I think too, a lot of people, and I'm sure you could vouch for this, is that you find that people that have been hurt and damaged in certain ways or different addictions, if you will, or different things, it's brought on by pain. And a lot of people find themselves in this victim mentality. And for me, certainly everybody's probably wondering what happened to the driver of the truck that hit you. And the driver was fine. He got out of that truck. He was in a freaking semi truck, darn near, and he was fine. He had no injuries. But I, on the other hand, was left for dead. My body is now deformed and mangled. And that to me, like, it was difficult in the beginning to really practice that forgiveness. And because I could so easily blame this guy and be the victim for the rest of my life. And I go back to my mom's word by her telling me, Cody, don't lose sight of your vision. she knew and understood that I had every right to give up and play that victim card. And there's many people in today's world, maybe they have been damaged or hurt by the poor choices of somebody else. And they find themselves contemplating that victim card and wanting to stay in that. But just as she believed in me, she knew that there was something greater on the other side for her son. I believe in everyone I come in contact with, that no matter what life has brought you, there is a better tomorrow, no matter what has happened. And forgiveness is powerful. And it's not that I condone the choices of the driver, but forgiveness is more so for yourself. I'm going to move forward and I want to break free of yesterday's troubles truly. And on the other end, now that I'm targeting forgiveness, because I've also seen where other people have found themselves scarred and damaged because of their own poor choices. And so for those, I spoke at a prison a few years ago, and a bunch of guys are up there battling with that same thought. They did all these horrible things, and they're just like, well, I can't even forgive myself. Forgive yourself and move forward.
It
That's
all starts
really
with you. All
exactly.
starts that forgiveness starts with you. If you can't forgive yourself, Cody, I learned this along my, road in the recovery and everything too. It all starts with me. And if I can't forgive myself, how am I supposed to forgive everyone else? Let's say that I've done wrong, or the things that I've done wrong, or how are people supposed to forgive me if I can't even forgive myself or love myself?
Exactly. And it is. And it's all a matter of how you self talk and see yourself. And everything starts truly, in my opinion, from the inside out. And our minds, it truly is the biggest battlefield. And it's so vital that we are feeding our minds good things. And I think, too, I like comparing because I also talk about scars all the way around, not just physical, but the emotional. And as a burn survivor going through this, I got the physical scars, but you better believe I got those emotional scars too, because it messes with you. And it changes how you see life and others in different situations, and the trauma of that, having PTSD, and the list goes on. And those emotional scars, they work on people. And a lot of times those scars occur over different areas in our life. For instance, maybe that's childhood and marriage, a bad business deal, or coworker, somebody said something to us and we become damaged or hurt in a way, and that scars us deeply. And if those scars are not properly addressed, they can limit us in our movement and how we function in those areas. And so a lot of people, though, they try to escape the pain. They do everything they can to avoid it. But if they take the time to self-examine and just really sit there, and it's hard for some people because they don't like bringing up past hurt and pain. But if they go deep enough, they can find whatever it is that's holding them captive and what's causing a problem in their life. And if they break free of that, if they find inner peace and forgiveness, it will transform them. And now I always share too, scars, they're permanent, whether they are physical or emotional, but it's all a matter of not allowing that scar to keep you limited throughout your everyday life. We have to break free.
100%, man. Do you have a lesson for the audience or anything that has helped you, especially with your emotional scars? So, like, I'm sure most people have a physical scar. I have many from playing sports and stuff like that. Everyone has a scar, I think. Lots of women do from having babies, those types of things. But, like, how do you work through your emotional scars? Like, what's one good piece of advice you could give people to work through their emotional scar on an easy scale, sort of thing, not a complex one either, Cody?
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. And to simplify, and I always use the acronym of CPR. And this deals with self-care all the way around. It really boils down to these three things. And I believe community is so important. Understand that you're not alone. Know that there is other people out there that are hurt. They're going through the exact same thing you are, if not worse. And I always share with people, I was not the only one. And that burn unit was full. They just had one bed open. And I was fortunate enough to get into that burn unit. And so there was a lot of people that didn't make it. They died there. And so I look at my situation, and you learn to count your blessings, but those that have survived, you learn from each other. And I went to a lot of support groups. I had other therapists, different ones, and I'm not ashamed to say it. I sit down, I talk with these people because I want to get better. And that community, though, was extremely necessary for me because, and Chris, I'm sure you could, vouch for me on this, is that we live in a world where there's just a lot of negativity.
Oh,
And
there's so much negativity out there. You can find it all over social media if you want. And I heard someone say recently, if you want to get better with whatever you're doing, whether it's on social media or whatever, you got to delete the negativity. If that account is serving purpose, unfollow them. It's as easy as that. Start there.
yeah,
So,
no, absolutely no, man. I'm digging this 100 because it's true. It's just the reality of our world. And being in the self help community now, it's like you see so much that we are a byproduct of those that we surround ourselves with, and the people that we are listening to, and with social media looking at. I mean, simple as a post. If you're not following things that are encouraging you, remove those things from your life because you may not realize it, but they are having an effect on you in some small way. And so you need a good community that is going to uplift you and encourage you to get to the next level, because there's a lot of communities out there that are all about, victim mentality, and misery loves company. And you can certainly find anybody that will sympathize.
repeat that one again.
Yeah, misery loves company. And you see it. All people love to get in groups and woe is me. Life is just pitiful. This is all it's ever going to be. And they just bicker and complain about their life and nothing changes. But if you want to see change, find those people that are living that kind of life that you want and learn from them, absorb from them. So community is so important. And yet at the same time, I always talk about the P, which is patience. Understand that it takes time. Nothing comes overnight. Healing takes time. Results, no matter what they may be, whether you're wanting to overcome addiction, maybe you're wanting to, lose weight, whatever it may be, understand that it's going to take some patience. It's not going to be instant, but be patient. And yet at the same time, that R, it kind of ties in with the community, but that R, renew your mind and find good books, feed yourself good content, and you will see it truly transform your life and your situation, and it will help you overcome whatever scar it is that you're dealing with.
I love that, man. CPR. I'm gonna dissect this one later on too, man. This is amazing. And I think everyone else out there listening to this episode should go dissect that one. It's three simple steps there, man.
There's the community patience for the P, and
Yeah.
then there are renew
Yeah.
your mind.
Renew. Sorry. My bad.
No, it's
But
okay.
yeah, no, that's an amazing acronym for CPR, man. And it should be used by everyone. And I've never heard that one before. So thank you for sharing that on this show, Cody. I
Oh, my
appreciate that.
pleasure.
And I want to talk a little bit about, we've talked a little bit about mental health. You know, touched a little bit about PTSD. I collabed too with another amazing content creator and stuff like that, Travis Brown, who owns and is the creator of Poddex, helps everyone out there in the podcasting community and beyond. And I've used this deck within my relationship and some of that, but I collabed with him on a mental health deck. So I'm going to reach right into this mental health deck here and talk to you. And we were just talking about technology and removing negativity from our life. So I think this question just coincides with what we were just talking about, man. But how do certain mental health conditions, example, depression, anxiety, affect how people engage with technology today?
Ooh. I think obviously we see COVID and how that has caused everybody to be isolated all the more. And I think
It's
there's
heightened the mental health and mental illness, and it's caused a whole other epidemic around there, whether with the addictions, the mental health world and stuff like that. It's fucking skyrocketed, man. And I can't count, man. It's sad to say, man, but I've lost too many people to suicide and addictions the last 2 years alone, man, like more than any other time in my life.
yeah. Oh, and then you see it everywhere. And people, they we as humans, we are created to be around others. We need other people. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, buts about it. And I can be, and oddly enough, and it's funny because I say this because people would never guess it, but I am very introverted in ways. To me, I thoroughly enjoy getting a cup of coffee, sitting on my, and I live here in the country part of Florida, and my neighbor has cows, and I sit there and watch the cows, and I'm content. I am content. That's like a happy place for me. But at the same time, speaking, I'm always in the public eye. But I think it's also a good balance because I can almost be too isolated. And people, I think now they hide behind their screens. And sadly, on social media, a lot of people, not everybody, there are some, but a lot of people, they'll post the good parts of their life. They never really post the behind the scenes because nobody wants to be seen as somebody that's got problems. Everybody wants to say, "Oh, I've got it going on. I got the woman of my dreams. I've got the man of my dreams, whatever it may be. I've got this career. I'm successful, this and this and this." But they don't see the pain. They don't know the journey. And people, there are more people opening up and being vulnerable, but being vulnerable is so powerful and so important. And if you're really going to connect with somebody, vulnerability is where it's at. But you can only do so much of that online. And I think too, people, they sit behind their phones, they scroll through, this person's got it going on. My life is not, I'm not doing this. And you start
Doing the whole
creating this.
comparison thing.
Yes. Yeah. And it's that negative self-talk. And it's this, then you're like, you're down on yourself. And then you play that, on repeat in your mind. I'm not doing as good as, and that comparison, it'll defeat you and destroy you quicker than anything. And so you got to get out of that mindset. And, and I think too, it's important that we get in back out there and find others that truly we can connect with. But I think anybody that's going to be real and honest, they're all going to let you know that life sucks at times. Life is not easy, but it's not easy for anyone. It's all a matter of what you make of it. And everybody has a story. Everybody encounters pain. Everyone's on a different life journey. But some people make it and some people don't. But I believe if anybody can make it, really, if they truly put their mind to it, it's just a matter of what you are telling yourself. What is the story? And if you tell yourself a good story and if you encourage yourself and you practice those CPR steps and you find a good community, you can see your entire life go to the next level despite your circumstances.
And I love that you say that, man. And it's so true. It's all who you like. We'll circle back to about who you surround yourself with. If you're going to surround yourself with the negativity and the people that you find down the street and those types of things, you are who you surround yourself with. And I've heard even the owner of the dealership I work at say this. You are who you surround yourself with. He said this to me one day. I wanted to be successful. I wanted to own a car dealership one day. So I started hanging out with the guys that owned other car dealerships and got inside their mind. And here I am a few years later now. I wanted to be a millionaire. I started hanging out with millionaires. You know, like
That's it. It's true. It
yeah.
makes a difference.
And you get to see inside their minds and stuff, and you start thinking like them, but then they start doing the things they're doing. Well, clearly that they're successful for a reason. They didn't just get there overnight either. No one's just this overnight success story. I don't care what you tell me. The odd thing is, but very rarely is it an overnight success story. Someone worked their ass off for many years to get to where they are. And you did the same thing. It's not like it was an overnight success story from you, but this accident propelled you to the next level though, because now you had another part of your story to add to whatever you were doing with your life already, because you were already speaking before this.
Correct. Yeah, man. And I'm glad you took the conversation that way because there's a powerful quote that I love sharing with people, and it's by Caitlin Walsh. And it was given to me by one of my mentors, Dr. Sean Stevenson. He actually, great, great man. He passed away back in 2019. He was born with a fragile bone disorder, and the guy was only 3 foot tall, but he inspired millions around the world. Credible life, credible entrepreneur, leader. But he gave me this quote, and it says, the key to success is playing the hand you were dealt like it was the hand that you wanted. And I think a lot of people find themselves handed an interesting deck of cards, if you will, or an interesting hand. And life is full of that. Some people are born without parents. Some people are born into poverty. Some people aren't. There's different hands that each of us are dealt with. But still, yeah, everyone's at some point in their life, I don't care who they are, they're going to be handed a difficult set of cards. And if you play those cards correctly, they could serve to your advantage. And for me as a speaker, I had to really go back to why am I doing what I'm doing to begin with? I'm not in it for self. I wasn't up on the platform as much as I enjoy juggling. I enjoy entertaining thousands. I love that. But at the end of the day, it's not about that. It's not about the applause I receive. It's about the impact and the message I'm delivering to people. And I took this incident and I just had that shift of mind. I'm like, okay, yes, I don't know what the future holds, but I know that day by day, piece by piece, I'm going to get back up and I'm going to put everything together so that this serves to my advantage. And I'm going to deliver a message of hope and inspiration like never before. And because of this incident, I've been able to reach others that I would have never reached if I hadn't gone through this. And comedy and juggling and an inspirational message, it'll get you so far. But you throw in a story where you almost die and you're scarred and mangled. There's so many different ways to connect with people. And it's so broad. And I now am able to share it to other burn survivors. And my gosh, I have a burn foundation. I'm doing all these different things. But it expanded my audience. And so I took it, and it's like the old saying, life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. So that's what I did.
100%, man. And it seems like you're doing very well with it. Let's touch a little bit about that foundation you've started. When did you create that, Cody?
Yeah, I created that back in 2016. And a lot of that was created with the intent of just really wanting to help other survivors emotionally heal. Physically, it's taken some interesting turns. I wanted to partner with a hospital out of Indianapolis originally and help fund surgeries for those patients that couldn't afford them. I still would like to do stuff internationally. Here in the United States, we have Medicare, different things, and sometimes the hospitals and the legal system can be a little complex. So we're going a different direction as far as that's concerned, as far as bringing in patients and helping them physically heal. I really target more so now the emotional. And so if there's survivors that are in desperate need of being in a community, my foundation is able to fund those survivors to go and be part of conferences or get the needed materials necessary for them along with their families to heal and recover, because burn injuries, it's a lifelong injury. And I tell you, people ask me all the time, they say, well, Cody, are you recovered? And I'm like, yeah, technically I am, but at the same time, scar tissue, I have to constantly monitor my scars. And over time, these scars, they can contract, they can cause my different joints to be limited. And so I have to go in and have occasional surgeries if need be. I can, of course, do a lot of cosmetic stuff, but I'm just like, I embrace the scars. Now I rock it. They're like my tattoos. But a lot of survivors, especially if they're children, they have to go through multiple surgeries as they grow. And sometimes these survivors, their faces are scarred. And so they have to relearn to love themselves, relearn to love themselves despite their injuries. And there's a lot of people like that in today's world. But survivors, burn survivors particularly, they really struggle in this area because kids and kids, adults, we live in a cruel world, and people like pointing fingers and making fun. And then so you got other people that are difficult to live with, and you have to manage that. Psychologically, it can really take a toll on a person. So I like to give them the necessary materials, get them around others that have lived it, and give them steps on how to overcome and live a successful life with their injuries.
That's amazing, man. You know, what your foundation is doing. Since you said it touched on the legal system and the hospitals are a little different down in the United States for anyone that doesn't know that. They truly are. It's a different world down there. It's a different beast. Everywhere is different, and that's okay. But you can always change that the way the cards were dealt to you, like you just mentioned. You had to move a different direction, and you're doing something great with it still. So you were able to figure out what you could do with it, with what was dealt to you at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is, and it's giving hope on a whole nother spectrum that I never thought I would have been able to. And so it's so rewarding. And people ask me all the time, they say, Cody, would you go back and would you, if you could get into the other lane of the highway, or if you could change what happened to you, would you? And if they would have asked me this years ago, I would have said, heck yeah, any day, absolutely. But now here I am, and it's, what is it? It's 2022. So I don't know, maybe 9 years out or 10 years. I don't know how long it is. I've been able to see so many amazing things happen, not just within my own self, but within the lives of others. And so I would not change what happened to me whatsoever, because it has allowed me to grow and to mature in ways that I wouldn't have if I had not gone through this. And so I am very grateful and appreciative. And pain is one of our greatest teachers. And if we allow it to, it can teach us lessons and things that will not only add benefit to ourselves, but to others that we come in contact with. And we as humans, and no matter if you're an entrepreneur in sales, if you're married, if you have children, I mean, we're serving others in some way, shape, or form, and we're surrounded by others. And when you live with the mentality that you're in this life not just for yourself, but for those around you, it's powerful, because you're able to really then see that I want to give a lesson to somebody else. I want to leave a legacy, something that is greater than me. How can I truly better the world now? Because someday, the reality of it is, we're all going to die. And so we want to make the most of our life today. How can I make the biggest difference in our world today to help positively encourage somebody else?
Now we're on that topic there, Cody. I challenge anyone that's listening to this episode. What are you going to do today that is going to make, your life better or someone else's life better? I challenge someone, and I challenge everyone to go out there and do something positive, do something good for yourself or for someone else to even better it. Be kind to someone, give someone that dollar if they ask for it, help someone out cross the street, whatever it may be, hold that door for someone. I challenge you to do something kind for someone else. It brings that person's spirit up, but it will help enlighten you as well and make you want to do more great things in life, more positive things.
Yeah. And it is so therapeutic. And I have found that to be true in what I do. I think I have one of the greatest jobs in the world when you get to be on a podcast or surrounded with others, be on a stage, no matter what the stage may be. It is so healed all the way around when you get to be of encouragement to somebody else. It fuels you. It's like it's a good fuel. And it's like, all right, I'm gonna keep on burning. I'm gonna keep on being a light to others.
It's a good therapy session, man. Like, it's a really cheap therapy session.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, don't cost you nothing.
Got zero. I got one more question before we take off here, Cody. But what is one less than optimal situation you have faced as an entrepreneur, and how did you resolve it?
There's always challenges. And I think when for me, behind the scenes, I can only do so much as one individual. And so when I made the decision to start bringing others aboard my team, hiring others, working with others, hiring coaches, I have virtual assistants that work for me. When I decide, all right, I'm going to make this sacrifice and I'm going to realize I can't do it all on my own, I need other people to help me. That was pivotal for me and for my career. And so I'm grateful. And yes, it cost me something, but in the end, I'm reaping the benefits. The ROI on that you can't beat. It's beautiful. So it's making that leap of faith and realize that you can't do everything on your own. We need other people to help us. And some people are like, well, I want to do it all on my own. It becomes a pride issue. Then it's no, you need other people. Be wise, bring other people to the table. They can help you get to the next level. And so I've been able to do that a lot on many different levels, and it has served to my benefit.
I love that you say that too. And I see that in myself sometimes. I want to do it all on my own. But it's funny what happens when you reach out for help, whether it's a little project you got going on at home or something that you don't know much about. Or you may be good at something. Cody's good at speed, but he might not be good in some other area in life. So it's good. Warren Buffett says invest in yourself. You know what I mean? Even if it's your last $100 or whatever, but investing that in yourself will go a long way in life. You have to
Absolutely.
invest in yourself to get to the next level.
Yeah, you really do. And out of that, not only is it helping you, but you're helping other people in the process. And relationships is such key in business. And so establishing good relationships with people, and it does, it serves you on so many levels. And you'll look back years from then, you'll be like, man, I'm glad I did that.
I love what you just said, man. It's so true. Like, it gives back to other people. Other people benefit from it too. You build those relationships. You build those long-lasting relationships with people when you bring other people on board on your team and stuff like that. My team consists of quite a few people now in my support network and people I've networked with having guests on this podcast. I've been able to keep in contact with them the whole time too. We've become good friends, even though we haven't met at one day at a time. We'll get there at one point. We'll meet in this chaotic world we live in and stuff like that. But I've been able to just reap the benefits of these friendships and relationships that I've built through the show that I've created and stuff like that too, Cody. And I hope we can continue to do that as well, man. But before we go, where can everyone find you? Social platforms, if they'd like to buy your book, maybe someone hears you out here, they'd like to book you to speak for something for them or their business or whatnot.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, and thank you for that, man, and yes, I do hope and pray we can meet in person someday and grab a cup of coffee together. I'd love that. But yeah, if people are interested, I am very active on social media, more so Instagram than any of them, but I do have Facebook, I've got LinkedIn, I've got Twitter. My website, codyburns.com, CODYBYRNS.com. I've got even free gifts available. I have an EPIC, an acronym that I share with people. And I have a whole coaching program, a life coaching program getting ready to launch. And it's along the lines of living an epic life. What does that look like? And I work with people on that. But then also, too, I have my book. It's available on Amazon in printed and Kindle format. And so that's out there. My book is Scar Release, Breaking Free of Yesterday's Troubles. And if they want to learn more, my website has that information as well. If they want to communicate with me directly, they can reach out on social media or my email info@codyburns.com.
Thank you again for taking the time out of your day today to, come on the show and share your story and share some great insightful tips on how to live your best life, Cody. If there's anything anyone could take away from today, please go back and listen to CPR. That acronym is huge, man. Building that community around you is huge. Just staying positive is huge. That's what I took away from it. And not toxic positivity either, because
Mm.
like we talked about through this episode, everyone goes through pain. If you're always just sharing your best moments and stuff out there, share your pain. You don't have to share every little detail, but be vulnerable on how you're really feeling today. If you're feeling down, let people know. Don't be afraid to hide. Don't be afraid and hide behind that mask or whatever of positivity. Let people know I'm really not doing okay today, and it's okay to not be okay, as that old saying is. So thank you again for coming on the show, Cody. I truly appreciate you taking the time out of your day, man, and I hope you have an amazing rest of your day.
Oh, thank you, brother. You too. I appreciate it. Such a pleasure.